Back in line, you dog! On your feet! Get them going!
Sorry, changing the thumbnail or the name. Good afternoon, good evening, goodbye, Micah. Welcome to Cross Examinations Live. I'm your host, Mike S. Miller, not a pastor, rabbi, blah blah blah, all that stuff. Messed up my door. What are we doing? Oh, we're doing Open Line Friday today. I changed the title of this to hashtag I am Charlie Kirk Open Line Friday because I was just thinking about that's I saw that hashtag yesterday. Actually, what I did was I wrote it in a private DM, and Twitter changed it to all bolds and all capitals, all caps, and I'm like, wait, is this already a hashtag? And so I went and I looked it up, and yes, I'm like, this is what I want. That's what I like. The best case scenario of this is thousands of people not turning to violence. We don't want that. We don't want to be the crazies. And yes, there is right-wing violence. I hate to break it to you guys. I'm not saying there's not extremist Christian violence. There's a difference. You can be right-wing and not be Christian. You can be Christian and do unchristian things. So, yes, can people be pushed over the edge? Yeah. Look, I'm as guilty as anyone of enjoying those videos of biker gangs beating the snot out of Antifa. The struggle is real, right? But the ideal thing is that Charlie is now the seed that a seed must die and be planted and grow, and that other people rise up to be Charlie Kirk, like kind, forgiving, not prone to anger in response to people being absolutely insane in front of him. Temperate, that kind of Christian conservative voice. And if people can honor Charlie by elevating the discourse to his level, which is difficult because, dang, that guy knew so much. He had such great recall and knew, oh my gosh, he had all that information in his brain, and he just whipped it out at any minute. And it was awesome. But, yeah, today's Open Line, so we're going to talk that. What's up Without Lies, Justin, March Hare, Melissa, DJ, who else? Tina, did I say Tina already? Larry, I feel like I already said Tina, but if not, a double dose of Tina. And so many people love Charlie. Yes, that's, my gosh, I hate it when I just start a stream and I start getting hunger pains. I don't eat before I do the stream. But yeah, it's going to be Open Line, so I'm going to invite, copy, and just drop it in there. What's up, Zach Areno? Zach's back. He's a Lego maniac. Remember that, Zach? I don't know how old you are, but that was an old trope in the olden days. Gosh, I might change that. Forget that. I remember that, right? Zach, he's a Lego maniac. I actually am a Lego maniac. He left thousands of Turning Point groups in universities all around the world. That's a lot of people. Are they all around the world? I thought they were just in America. Is there an international Turning Point? Because his I'd say it. It's his ministry was America, right? And he might not have called it a ministry, but Turning Point was a ministry. You know, it was a political activism group, but it's Christian, right? I mean, he had Turning Point Church. It was one of the branches of Turning Point USA. I found out Charlie was supposed to come to LSU by me next month. That sucks. Some in Australia. Australia? There's no world outside of America. I know, right? That's what I heard. I haven't been to Australia to confirm. It's okay, Larry. I can read typos. Typos work. So tired. All right. Man, yesterday's video. I'm not going to sit here and just turn everything into a Charlie Kirk video because I wouldn't do that. And I'm mentioning this because YouTube irritates the living crap out of me. So yesterday's video, I've gotten credit for 17 views. And they started counting 11 hours and 20 minutes ago. I don't understand YouTube. Because when I go back the page prior, that video got 234 views, which, you know, I'm not a huge channel, and this isn't like I'm not, right? So 234 views on one of my live stream videos. That's actually my second biggest video in months. Actually, my Alex O'Connor boxes got through AI got 1,000 views. But YouTube took away almost 220 of those 234 views. I don't understand YouTube. It's, first of all, it's like it's trying to keep this channel from ever being monetized. But whatever. It's really irritating. However, good news. Good news, everyone. My Grok Logic Atheist to Theist Through Facts and Logic and Evidence video is killing it. It's at 500. Oh, it's at 602 views now. So everyone, go give that one a looky-loo if you didn't already. I mean, I know you watched live, so you saw, but I clipped out just that part where it started at the question where Doran was in the chat, and he's like, ask Grok if we should believe in God, and Grok starts by saying no. There's no reason, blah, blah, blah. And then I walked it through abiogenesis, and then this first living cell, and which is abiogenesis, molecules to cells. And Grok did the math, and they're like, oh yeah, kind of need a God for that to happen. It's a great video, and it's a long video, and so I don't know. I'm happy to see YouTube's actually, because YouTube has to recommend the video for it to do well, and YouTube's actually recommending it. It's not recommending it to a lot of people, but it's recommended it to, or not recommended, but it's shown it. It's how impressions work. It's like it'll put it on the screen for the person. It's had 10,000 impressions. YouTube does that. YouTube could just let your video sit on your channel, but it is putting it in front of people to test the market. It's only got a 3.4% click-through rate. You guys probably don't care about this stuff, but I think the fact that YouTube is actually recommending some obviously Christian content, it's a good sign, right? It's not like, obviously YouTube isn't a Christian company and they don't love Christianity, but they are at the very least not like shadow banning all the Christian content creators. So that's take the wins where you can, right? Take the wins where you can. That was a good clip. Plus, my comment is highlighted in it. Nice. I need to go back and listen to a bunch of your old streams. I'm not that entertaining. Another step in the culture climb. Yeah, every little step. Look, that's hashtag I am Charlie Kirk, right? We all have to stand up and try to be. See, I'd say we had to stand up and try to be Jesus, but I don't think Jesus would be on YouTube. Would he? What do you think? If Jesus was modern. Oh, actually, that's a good prompt. Let me see. Let me make a banner. Prompt. Would Jesus use social media? There we go. That's our prompt today. Anybody wants to come on in chat? Mike asks AI for everything now. No, but it's here's the thing. It's like I think a lot of people they elevate scientists to this position where they think scientists are like Spock. That's illogical, Captain. I can only calculate or like Data, right? I have no human. I don't remember what Data sounds like. I have no human emotions. I can't be biased or predeterminate in my positions. I'm ultimately logical and scientific, and the only thing that matters is truth. Hogwash. I hate to break it to all you guys out there who think like that. Scientists are human beings. When we have the Spocks and the Datas, and then you ask them facts, logic, reason, can life have come from non-life? Their instant reaction, well, at least, unless they think it through, that's the thing. It's like, how do you have to think it through? Because the knee-jerk reaction is, well, consensus says, and then you're like, but you have to recognize consensus is gatekeeping. Consensus science is gatekeeping. That's what it does. And again, my evidence is the movie Expelled. If you go watch that documentary Expelled, and I know I'm regurgitating this for a lot of you guys, but it's just basic reality. The consensus of Darwinism in academia and education blacklists anyone who disagrees. Anyone. It doesn't matter what facts, logic, reason, evidence you bring to them. You're blacklisted. You will not be peer-reviewed. You will not be given tenure. If you have tenure, you'll be silenced. If you have tenure, you won't be peer-reviewed. If you don't have tenure, you won't get tenure. They'll do everything they can to get rid of any dissenting voices. That is not science. That is church. Well, that's not church. It is religion. It is dogma. It's the worst part of religion, which is just blind dogma without, like, leave your brain at the door and just listen to what we tell you. No. See, in the logical world, cult. That's a good one. Except they're not. I don't know about cult. Was that the movie with Frasier in it? I don't recall Frasier being in it. Isn't it funny how everyone calls him Frasier and not his real name? I watched the movie Church People last week. It was really good. What is that? I'm kind of wanting to be the Jesus with the knotted cord and cursing the fig trees sprouting up lately, but I'm not. I keep praying for forgiveness and peace. Yeah. Thorin, who's not here right now, It's in the chat. It was in the Discord, just railing at posting because you know why? Because Justin was on, and so what he does is he goes and he watches Justin Deconstruction Zone, and then he comes back and he just regurgitates everything Justin's saying as if this is his argument. And he said some weird things he's like because I said we should try to get out there and be like Jesus. He's like, well, we can't be like Yahweh. You know, Yahweh kills all these people, blah, 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 and then 32 virgins. I don't know what the heck he's talking about. But, you know, he's talking about, you know, I want to give you land, kill everything, man, woman, and child. Take the virgins for yourself. Yahweh had 32 virgins. Just for him alone, I'm no expert. He's a nutter. He's a bit of a nutter, that one. But, yeah, I'm like, we can't be like God the creator, the judge of, or the author of life and death, right? But Jesus came to show us how in the flesh, in the flesh, we can try to be like him. That's not to say we can create life and a universe of our own. That's a little insane. We can determine when people live and die. This is more appropriate to what we've been talking about this week. But we're supposed to be like Christ. That's a Christian, little Christ. That's what the word means, right? Christian. And but yeah, they always fall back to, oh, look at all the stuff that Yahweh did in the Old Testament. I'm like, yeah, he did. But he's the author of life and death, and that's a narrative of taking someone out of the wicked world and giving him the rules to show how to please God. Right? Because that's what you want to do. Ultimately, if you care about truth and life and God himself, you want to please God. So all this other stuff God does, he he punishes the wicked. He has mercy on whom he will have mercy. And then he chastises his children, those who follow him. He chastises. It's not a punishment like he punishes the wicked, but he chastises his children. Just like any good father, if you do not chastise your children, are you trying to raise monsters? Are you trying to raise these oh my gosh, these people on Twitter. Sorry, my brain just went to sideways here. Does not the creator have the right to his creation? Correct. Right. So we can't be like the creator. Although Jesus is the creator, but that's serves a different purpose, or not a different purpose. We can't be God. We can try to be like God in the flesh, which is he came, he had the temptations, he had the hunger, he had, I'm sure his feet hurt when he walked too long, right? He had the humanity, and we're trying to emulate the humanity of Christ and follow in doing, as Jesus did, that which pleases the Father. When you say you're trying to be like God, you're trying to be like Christ, you're not saying you want to be the author of life and death. It's so frustrating that certain people, I'm not going to say everybody, but obviously certain people, like Justin, all right, they can't extract information in context like that. I've been reading through the Old Testament. God is actually a lot more loving and gracious than we give him credit for. Oh, I know. Oh, I give him credit all the time. You could read through the Old Testament and it's all over the time. It's like, I'm doing this because I love you, and I just want you to love me. It's like that's that's the message of the Old Testament. But he will chastise. Per AI, 32 virgin likely refers to the 32 human virgins mentioned in the book of Numbers 31 of the Old Testament, who were taken as spoils of war after the Midianites were defeated, and some were offered to God as a sacrifice. Not as a sacrifice like living sacrifice. But the virgins taken, I mean, obviously they didn't do anything. The curiosity is like, well, okay, the curiosity and then the answer to the curiosity, at least in speculation. Why sometimes God would kill just the men and the fighting age kids, right? Save the children, save the virgins. Well, in that sense, and then sometimes wipe out everybody. The speculation is the Nephilim, and I know some people don't believe that the sons of God and the sons of men were angels and men. I don't know how you can get around it, honestly, but yeah, the sons of Seth argument just doesn't hold water. It's like, you can't. How do two regular human beings create giants? It doesn't have. Well, I mean, I know some pretty big guys, but they're not like giants. They're not mighty men of renown, right? You don't become a mighty man of renown just because two humans. Anyways, so if you believe that, and I do, then how did that line of genetic corruption, where was that line of genetic corruption? Is that why Joshua started wiping out all of those cities that are defined in the Joshua genocides? Call them that. It is what it is. In the Joshua genocides, those were all known giant Nephilim groups. So people, all right. Remember when they came into the land? They said that we're like grasshoppers in their sight. We brought back giant grapes and all that stuff. And then also, I believe historically, at least legend-wise, historically, giants started showing up in the Americas. So somehow or another, around that time. So like they were getting wiped out in the Levant or in Israel, in what is the Promised Land. And some of them booked it out of Dodge, showed up in America because there were giants in America, at least by legend and by evidence. Do you know about you guys know about there's a Indian legend of these giants, these red-headed giants with 2 rows of teeth, who would cannibalize these Indian groups. And so the Indians, they followed them back to their cave. I can't remember what tribe this was. Tina, you can look it up on AI. And they followed them back to their cave, and then they lit a fire at the front of the cave to smoke them and choke them out. And then they did that. Later, archaeologists went to that cave, and they found, like, I think it was 20-inch sandals. I think it was 20-inch. Maybe it was smaller than that. Tina, look it up. They found giant sandals in the cave, where historically the giants had been murdered, or not murdered, but slaughtered. Is that murder? It's self-defense, right? These guys are cannibals and they're eating your villagers. That's self-defense. That's not murder. All right. Dumbest Name says, I've got a question probably off topic. What if I buy a comic or film with questionable content? Do I destroy it, remove the naughty bits, or what? I mean, do what you got to do, right? Does it cause you to stumble? That's up to you, man. I'm not your priest, pastor, rabbi. I've just thrown stuff out. When I became a Christian, I was a video collector, so I had all kinds of stuff, and I just threw stuff out. So I didn't destroy it. These virgins are distinct from the famous parable of the 10 virgins in the New Testament, which focuses on preparedness for the bridegroom's arrival. Yeah. Twitter is nuts right now. I'm logging out of it for the weekend. That's probably wise. Bruno, what's up? What's up? Yum. Your son has food. Yeah, what? It's gone. I don't know what it was. Numbers 31:40, and 16,000 virgin girls, of whom 32 were the Lord's share. 41 Moses gave all 41. Oh, 41. Moses gave all the Lord's share to Eleazar the priest, just as the Lord had directed him, so they weren't killed. Right. So what did they do? Serve the priests? I mean, obviously they weren't going to rape them. It's not like they became sex slaves. This is another stupid thing. It's like people claiming they're sex slaves in the Bible. It's like, no, are you freaking insane? The 16,000 virgin girls, they would have been probably married off or made into slaves. But that's the reason. I think in that case, that's the reason. This is kind of a weird, touchy subject, but like the reason, like the girls didn't do anything, and the thing is, they probably couldn't do anything, right? Girls don't have the power, generally speaking, to to become a fighting force against Israel. And so if they, I'm not sure. Can you look it up and see if these were married off? I think they probably were married off into the tribes, right? Because they could have more than one wife. They could have, but they'd have to become part of the covenant. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I feel like this is something that would require some deep diving. But if I recall correctly, they do breed. They do marry into Israel, and it's because, first of all, you don't want to take a wife who's got loyalty to a husband who you just murdered. Not murdered, but killed in war. And so the virgins would not have that. Well, let's just call it what it. They wouldn't have the baggage. And obviously they wouldn't have the power to overthrow. So it's, I don't know. It was a tough situation, I think. 21 minutes before Nephilim appearance. What? I'm no Bible scholar, but it sounded odd to me. I think we all do that at times. I'm good about thanking God for my blessings, but I really need to expand my prayers. Wait. I thought the same about it sounding Islamic. That's why I looked it up. Oh, yeah. You do nothing with that question. All right. Have you heard the theory that the Nephilim were demons meant to thwart God's plan for Israel and ultimately Jesus coming? Yeah. Well, the Nephilim, that's the weird thing. The Nephilim are the offspring of angels and man, right? They had physical being, right? Here's the way I think the theory goes. So the Nephilim were the offspring. Because the Nephilim aren't, they're not angels, but they're not man, right? They're the genetic crossbreed somehow. I mean, angels appear, right? Angels have the power to cross the the veil, right? They can cross the veil and become flesh and blood, because we see them all the time in the Old Testament. Angels appear as men before men. And even the New Testament says, be careful. Sometimes you're entertaining angels unawares, which means sometimes, like that guy that saved me from that beating, I think that was an angel. The older I get and the more times I think about this story, the more impossible it gets, and the more I just think that was an angel. So angels can become flesh, real, or at least they can reveal their self, because they also exist in that beyond the veil, in that other dimension, and they become invisible to the world. But they can obviously interact with the real world, because one angel slaughtered 80,000 men, and he didn't do it by wishful thinking. Right? So, okay. Anyways. So we have plenty of evidence that angels become physical, but they're still spiritual beings, and they're ontologically different from humans. So when you crossbreed a human and an angel, what do you get? You get something peculiar that doesn't fit within the category of human or angel. So the soul of these creatures can't go back to heaven, can't go to the resurrection, because Christ's blood doesn't cover them. They can't go back to heaven, or they can't go to heaven, because they're not fully angel. So they get kind of, this is a theory, by the way. This isn't like written in the Bible. When they die, they're kind of stuck as disembodied spirits. I don't know how, like, again, there's like 10 dimensions, right? There's, if you want to call those layers of heaven or whatever, right? Actually, God said there's 7 heavens in the Bible? I think I remember hearing that. But anyways, I don't know. Where do they go? I think that might be an explanation for a lot of demonic activity, because it's like they're not fallen angels, but they are demonic because they can't be saved, because the blood of Christ can't cover them, because they're not human. And so that was kind of the issue with, like, and actually, if that is a true thing, that becomes a huge imperative to wipe out as many of them as possible, because that's merciful, because you don't want them breeding more doomed spirits. And what God's going to do with those spirits at the end of time, I have no idea. But are they all doomed to outer darkness forever? Did they never have a choice? That's kind of a rough one to speculate on. The description: followed back to cave and lit a fire. Archaeologists found 20 sandals, likely refers to the discovery of ancient oversized sandals in a cave, finding that has appeared in multiple news reports and archaeological studies. Sounds like self-defense to me. Paiutes. Oh, okay, it's the Paiutes. Speak of the red-headed giants. Thank you, Redu. This well-known archaeological site in western Nevada is famous for artifacts discovered there, including ancient footwear. Legends associated with the Paiute people speak of red-haired cannibals, and there were giants, by the way. What is up, Corpse Grinder? Setika, living in the cave, but these legends are disputed. How do you dispute a legend? It's a legend. If you're claiming that it's history, then you can dispute it. But if you're claiming it's a legend, but then when the legend has archaeological evidence that proves its history, I guess that's the disputation. And he said, when mothers sacrificed their children to God, they sent them to the temple to work there. I would assume anytime someone was offered to God, they went to serve at the temple too. That's a fair assumption. There, maybe that's part of, never mind. Some of the artifacts discovered there, including 10,000-year-old sandals, were much larger than usual. However, no reports of 20-inch sandals being found, though the larger sizes may have led to exaggerated stories. The larger sizes, how big were the sandals? I think we did this before, and they were like Shaq size, like the same size Shaq wears. Which, if you think about the ancient Native Americans, a race of Shaqs, cannibal redheaded Shaquille O'Neal's, compared to what was the average height of the Native American, early Native American? I'm gonna look it up. Average height of early Paiute Indians. Oh, average height. Why do they do centimeters? Oh, okay. The average. They was shorter than me. The average height of the Paiute was 5'6". How tall is Shaq? So just going, he's 7'1". All right, so 5'6" to 7. They'd be called giants. Also, average height means there's taller and shorter. But anyways, and that's a weird thing is they were redheaded. And then like a lot of the legends of giants, I don't know if it's most of them, they're redheads. And it's made me think that maybe, how people, like we're saying Nephilim, right? They don't have, I don't want to say they don't have souls, but they have these weird cross souls things. But is that where the whole redheads now have no souls thing came from? Is it like that? Is it an ancient, like idea that just kind of trickled up through time? Married by being sold to someone. Wait, what? Yeah, that happens today, bro. Ukrainian wives. You can literally go to the Philippines right now and buy a bride. It happens every day on this planet. Most likely dedicated to the temple, not sex slaves. No, there's no sex slaves in the Bible. And if they are, you know what they're doing? They're sinning. They're going against God's word. I plan on tossing it when I find it. Are you looking for it? Marrying into another tribe or community is a historically common practice that served many different purposes, from forming political alliances to expanding trade networks. Yeah. So I think it's like I said, in some of the tribes, you're trying to wipe out that genetic line. Just that's a mercy, because you don't want those souls being doomed. If that's a accurate theoretical speculation on what happens to the souls of Nephilim. But in other tribes, that honestly, that's common practice. Kill everybody, save the virgins, breed, bring them into your culture. That was not an abnormal practice in war back then, because you guys know about like the Hatfields and the McCoys and all this kind of stuff. It's if you leave people, they come back. That's just what happens. And it happened over and over again in the Bible because they didn't go and wipe everybody out. For whatever reason, they're like, oh, okay, we wiped enough of them out. We'll just leave this. And then they come back generations later and want to revenge. That's the cycle of revenge. And it's like rough call, but sometimes it's the only way to end that cycle. In many patriarchal societies, a woman's virginity was viewed as a valuable commodity, reflecting a family's honor and the woman's purity. As it should be, virginity is often interpreted symbolically to represent spiritual purity and faithfulness to God rather than literal physical virginity. Tina's going hog wild on AI. In Christian and Islamic tradition, angels can become physical by temporarily assuming a corporeal form at God's command to fulfill a divine purpose. Since angels are by nature spirits without bodies, their physical manifestation is not their permanent true state. Right, so, but angels can and did become physical. I wonder, again, this is all speculation, but because there would be so many Nephilim when they died, they probably don't have that ability, which is why they have to possess people in order to enter the physical world. Just like, so I think like, Legion in the Bible, and when Christ is talking to Legion, he's like, cast us into something else. Like they had to go into the pigs because they had no physical form of their own. They were all inside that boy, or was it a boy? I think it was a boy or man at the tombs. So I think maybe I think that's probably a pretty good argument that the demons like that were Nephilim spirits. Because where else are they going to go? And angels, like legit angels, can manifest in flesh, which makes me think that fallen angels like Lucifer and his pals can probably also manifest in the flesh, which is a little scary. But yeah, I think that's another category, like the demon. God knew that would happen. He made angels and man, but chose to do it. Hey, jump on in, Corpse Grinder. You want to talk about it? Here's the link. It was a 15-inch sandal, and that isn't giant. I mean, that's a what's the word? A subjective argument. I'm buddies with Doug TenNapel. He's 6'8", and he's a giant to me. The average height of the Paiute was shorter than me, and a 15-inch sandal, if he was just Shaq's height, if that was just Shaq's height, actually, we don't even know if that was one of the women's sandals. What if that was one of the women's sandals? And the women were 7 feet tall. That would put the men probably at 8 feet on average. That's a giant. I hate to break it to you. There's a mention of a third heaven in 2 Corinthians, but not 7 per Google. All right. Anna the prophet worked at the temple, worship and praying from her youth and well into her 80s. She got to proclaim over the child Jesus when she saw him. That's right. That's right. Heck, my cousin's one son had a size 15 foot. Yeah, I'm a 9. Oh, that's a terrifying image. Shaq is a son of Anakin. But he's not a redhead. Cannibal redheaded Shaq is a script begging to be written. Native American average height. No, I looked up the Paiute. Paiute average height was 5'6". And remember, nowadays, if you're talking about nowadays, everyone's getting taller. When I was born, when I was a kid, the average height in America was 5'7". So when I got to 5'7", I'm like, average height, baby. But since then, the average height in America has gone up to 5'9". I didn't change, but now I'm short. I used to be average height, and now I'm short. The injustice. Shaquille O'Neal, yes. Watching Shaq drink from a normal-sized water bottle is the funniest thing ever. Sounds like Vikings. I don't think Vikings were 7 and 8 feet tall. Corpse. Also, they probably wouldn't have worn the sandals and made it. I don't know. Did they make it all the way to Nevada? Maybe. What are Vikings? Nephilim. Were the Nephilim Vikings? A rogue tribe of cannibalistic red-headed Shaquille O'Neals is terrifying. I know, right? And just again, imagine if that's that. Imagine if the 15-inch sandal was a woman's sandal. What if the men didn't like sandals? They just went around barefoot. Oh yeah, check out the picture of Andre the Giant holding a beer can. Oh yeah. I love the picture of Andre the Giant and what's his face, the basketball player next to Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he looks like he's my height. And then the other two it looks like a picture with me and Doug TenNapel, but it's like Arnold Schwarzenegger and these two giants. I got to shake Shaq's hand one time at a game. He shook my entire lower arm. His hands were absolutely huge. Wow. Huge. It happens today, so it's good. I'm just... Corpse Grinder, you can't even tell me what's bad. It cracks me up. It's the inability for you atheists to understand that you have no moral basis to say anything is good or bad. But you just come in and try to tell us how bad our good God is.
And now it's time for City Songs with Natty. On to the show.
You can go to Thailand and buy a... Oh, forget it. Nah. Redheads being vampires and such, that would be a motivation to give gingers the stink eye. But remember, it's red-headed giants that were bad news. Hug a tiny redhead. There are still vendettas going on in Crete for generations. Right? Exactly. I'm telling you, Hatfields and McCoys, there was a famous vendetta thing in America. Like, I don't even know if it still goes on. I'll tell you, it went on for generations and generations. Just Hatfields wanting to kill McCoys and vice versa. I was thinking easy, Mike. Melissa Lester is a ginger. Gingers are cool by me. Yeah. I got no problem with gingers as long as they, Here's the thing. What if all gingers, this is terrifying, what if all gingers have Nephilim blood? And therefore, well, no, God wouldn't curse you. It's like beyond the 10th generation, I think it is. So what if you're like, you still had that 10th generation Nephilim blood and you're a redhead because of it? So the argument that things only reproduce after their own kind doesn't apply to angels. This is an I don't know, buddy, because I don't know, but what I do know is that humans and humans don't breed races of giants. So you're stuck with the I don't know versus the I do know. I do know humans and humans don't breed races of giants. I don't know how the reproducing over their own kind doesn't apply to angels. So you have to go with what you do know, right? Not with what you don't know. So if what you do know can't apply, then what you don't know does. Isn't that the Occam's razor thing? They had to go into pigs. They had to go into something. Jesus. Did Jesus actually cast them into the pigs, or did he just say for them to go into the pigs? I don't recall. Nephilim, their spirits were left disembodied and trapped on earth because they were a hybrid race of both spiritual, angelic, and human origin. Their spirits could not enter the afterlife designed for humans. These wandering spirits became the entities known as demons. Yes, I think that's a safe argument. I do believe that is a safe argument. Redhead, yes. Freckles, no. I totally have freckles. Doug TeNapel is huge, very tall. Yeah, my head, his shoulder is about here on me. And he's 6'8". So if he was 6'8", you add another 4 inches to get 1, 2, 3, 4 to get, if I would come up to the nipple on Shaq. And if it was a woman, and then the men were another foot taller, that's a giant. What is 15 inches in civilized units of measurement? Get out of here, Joe. Do your own math. Hug your sister. There you go, Mike. What if it was a woman's sandal? Exactly. I work with a kid that has a size 16 shoe, and he is 5'7" in shoes. He is 5'7" in shoes. He has a size 16 shoe, and he is 5'7" in shoes. Kid, so he's not a grown adult. So he's probably going to be a pretty freaking big guy when he grows up, right? The Lesters aren't giantesses, more like hobbits, makes me think. Alyssa has devoured too many souls. All right, enough of this red hair stuff. I've been 6'2" since I was in high school. Height is just a number. I got taller in the last few decades because after I grew up, I was 5'6" 3/4. And so I called myself 5'7", but I was really 5'6" 3/4. And then when I started going to the doctor a few years ago, I went to the thing and I was a solid 5'7". I'm like, I gained a 1/4 inch somewhere between my 20s and my 50s. I mean, it's kind of cool, but usually people keep shrinking. But I kept growing very, very, very incrementally, apparently. Maybe if I'm alive for another 50 years, I'll be 5'8". Let's go. What's up, Joseph Peck? Gingers are supposed to be Neanderthal. Didn't King David have red hair? He was described as ruddy. I don't know if that means he had red hair or red in complexion. But ruddy, yeah, does mean red. No, the feuds are over. I've met the great grandson of Devil Hence Hatfield. Oh, nice. How did they end the feud between the Hatfields and the McCoys? Christ said that we would be like angels in heaven, being neither male nor female. Hence, angels wouldn't reproduce. It doesn't say neither male nor female. It says not getting married. I believe that is the correct. Neither marrying nor being given in marriage. I believe that is the... Yeah. For in the resurrection, they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of God in heaven. That doesn't say neither male nor female. That's a misnomer. It's impossible to argue like this for anything. Okay. It's open line Friday, buddy. You can come in. I am a natural version of what Lone Star is. I'm so cool. What? Mike, I have worse than Nephilim blood. I have Viking blood. So do I. I'm a quarter Norwegian. Can you tell? That's where I got my giant stature. I am 1/4 Norwegian. And if you've seen my son, Isaac, he got all of it. Fair skin, blue eye, light blue eyes, blonde hair. People always assumed when we went to the beach, like he was a kid running around. It's me, all my little dark-haired family, and then Isaac. And they're like, "Oh, are you watching someone's kid?" Nope. That's that. He got all my Norwegian. No, the demons requested to go to the pigs. Right. I bet your short friend with the big feet would be really good at skiing. Taller, are you sure the world isn't just shrinking? No, everyone else is getting taller. I got a little bit taller, 1/4 inch. I don't know how. I don't know why. Welcome, Buddy Rabbit.
You look lonely.
I'm Ronry.
I'm sorry if the car noise is really loud. I'm on my way home because the time zones are stupid.
Wait, what?
I'm on my way home because time zones are stupid, and you're really late in my day.
Oh, gotcha. You're East Coast.
So I don't know if the car noises are super loud or not.
Nah, you're good, bro. As long as you can hear me.
I can hear you.
All right, so hit me. Hurt me.
What is the prompt? I didn't see it.
Well, it's what Jesus used social media.
I think the disciples would put social media all over him, and he would just do what Charlie Kirk did.
You think so?
I think he would just go out and talk to people.
Yeah. And then the disciples would record it and put it up on TikTok.
Yes. Well, Peter, absolutely.
Peter wouldn't ask permission first. He would just do it.
Peter wouldn't ask permission, and he would always be editing or deleting his tweets and then reposting stuff.
True. All right. Well, we can agree on that at least.
Yeah, prove me wrong.
Right.
Foot in mouth apostle.
I think that's accurate. So you think the sons of Seth? Let's just get into this one. Oh man, we only have 2 minutes left. We don't have time to get into it.
Unless you just keep going.
I can't, dude. I have way too much to do. I'm triple booked tonight.
Triple booked? What are you doing today?
I'm supposed to be. We have a thing for the high school group where we have to make a display table, and like all the other high school leaders are either gone or incompetent. I don't want to say they're competent, but like they're not artistic. So we're supposed to do the decorations. So I have to build that, and then also I'm supposed to go to my in-laws for not my in-laws. Is it my in-laws? It's my son-in-law's mother's house, because they're having the baby shower tomorrow. So I'm supposed to go and help decorate that. And then I also have to friggin' work. So I didn't even have time to do this show today, but I do it because I'm that dedicated. So yeah, I'm triple booked. I don't even know, man.
You got to you got to find a weekend so that we can actually have one of those conversations, because you keep saying you want to have them and neither of us have the time.
Yeah.
It's going to be the only way that I find time to do anything is a weekend. I'm driving 90 miles, every day to and from work.
Yeah, well, I don't stream on Sundays, and I am my Saturdays are as busy as every other day. I only take Sunday off, and then I go.
I'd
fishing.
I'd hate to put in PTO for a Tuesday, but I kind of want to save that in case I, get impaled by the forklift or something.
I hear you. Well, maybe one of these days I'll just be so late that I line right up with your drive time.
Well, you have before.
Right.
The problem was that there was no invite.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll try to be later next Friday.
I'll try. I'll leave with that. I'll plant the nugget here. If you start with Genesis 6 and then work down to 4, the context or the subject doesn't change from man. It keeps saying man. And there's no reason to infer immediately that sons of God aren't men, other than just assuming it in the text.
The only other place in the Old Testament where it refers to sons of God, it is the angels.
We're talking about Genesis, though.
I know, but it's all written by the same author.
One of these days we're gonna have to just get into like fundamental principles of inspiration and how that even, because we seem to be on completely different tracks even on that.
Yeah, I guess so. But I just don't understand how you think that men spawned a race of giants.
Well, they called their spawn. Well, we'll start here. I'll plant the nugget there. There's no reason within up to the first 6 chapters. There's no reason to assume that sons of God in chapter 6, in verse, 4 or 3, are specifically angels. The context there is men were multiplying on the earth. Men were in the context. God says his spirit will not dwell with men forever. Man will live 120 years, then he departs, or then he will, then man dies. And it says that the sons of God, which at this point, right after he says that man will not live longer than 120 years, the sons of God saw the daughters of man and thought they were beautiful and then born the giants. If the sons of God are meant to be a class of initially righteous people, there's not really a reason to inject that they're supernatural beings in the text up to this point.
They're just normal human beings.
Well, they could be righteous people. It'd be like if a race of Enochs or a race of Davids.
Does being righteous change your DNA so that you spawn giants?
No, that's not. Well, this goes into our argument about the flood too, because if the flood was partially also to destroy the giants, there's something genetic in the descendants of Noah that retained the ability to breed giants, right?
No.
Well, then where did Goliath come from?
That's exactly wrong. Because
where did Goliath come from?
Angels breeding with men.
So that happened again after the fact?
Yes.
But then so the argument then becomes then God was incomplete in his judgment of giants before. So the angels just went back to reproduce after not something within their own kind, and also made more giants in the promised land for the giant grapes to come back with the scouts. And then also giants made uncircumcised Goliath for David to tease. It's too many loose threads to connect to something that I feel like is more of a tradition than it is drawn out of the text.
So you're saying there weren't giants?
I'm not saying there weren't giants. I'm saying that there's no reason to believe that it was inherently, or that it was angels.
And I think that's a very easy connection to make.
That's just, at this point, we're just going to get into ultimate authorities. Where are you drawing it out of the text alone? What else did you read? We could go to Augustine or Jerome or Justin Martyr.
No, I just go to the Bible.
Well, so did they. And Augustine's on my side of this argument. So now, what do you do with that? And, I mean, DJ pointed out before, the angels don't get married. There'd be no reason for them to get married.
But that doesn't mean they can't procreate.
What would be the impetus for angels procreating if they don't need to be married? Why would that even be a necessary function?
Does necessary have something to do with it?
It doesn't make any... Okay, it can't be both true and false at the same time. That all things that God made reproduce after their own kind, except angels. They just don't apply. That just doesn't apply.
Well,
right? I don't see any reason why there
I
couldn't be a genetic component to giants. I don't see why that couldn't be true because they're giants after the flood.
right. And they're
But I
called
don't have any.
they're called the Nephilim after the flood too, right?
Well, right, because that's just the word for giant.
Oh, that's true.
So if it's a genetic thing, then it would just be because if everybody's coming back just from the family tree of Noah, then there would be something genetic in humanity that would be capable of producing people that tall.
Then why wipe
Or
out
at
the
least,
giants?
well, why wipe out humanity?
Well, why wipe out the giants?
Well, they're part of humanity, right?
I know. I'm
They're on
talking
the
about
planet with the rest
Joshua.
of people.
I'm talking about Joshua.
Oh, well, because the land was promised to them.
And therefore,
It wasn't necessarily about killing the giants. It was about removing the occupants of the land that was given to Abraham or promised to Abraham and Jacob. So
Yeah.
if there weren't giants there, they would have done the same thing because they were told that was their land.
Right, but then you have the difference again of in cases where there weren't giants, they didn't wipe out every man, woman, and child. In cases where there were giants, they did wipe out every man, woman, and child.
Well, and that ended really well for King Saul.
Huh?
That ended really well for Saul.
He was told to. He was bad at listening.
You're right, and he didn't. Yes. God said, you don't want a king. They said, we want a king. You're going to regret it. No, we won't. All right.
I know, but that's not an argument for why Joshua was told to kill out every man, woman, and child of the giant clans.
Right, in the land that they were promised. They were still there. They had to remove the foreign influence.
Okay, but it was the exact same reason. I mean, like the fact that they kept the virgins from the Midianites is the argument that counteracts that. Why keep the virgins from these guys, but wipe out every child from these guys? There has to be a reason why it's okay to wipe out every child in one group, but you save.
Well, I could be really reductive and remedial and just say God told him to, so he did.
Yeah, but that's not how it works. There's a reason for everything.
Well, right, but are we told every reason for everything?
No, we're also not told the freaking nature of angels.
You're right, but we're also that cuts both ways, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It like I said, it becomes an unknown, and
So
I would rather go with what is known than what is unknown. We don't know.
Well, so would I.
Psychology on angels,
we're told things cannot reproduce against their own kind, and angels are not humankind. So on a simple reading of that, if you just want to make the argument that all we have to do is read the Bible, I have no reason to believe, because things can't reproduce out of their own kind, that angels can reproduce with humans.
What do angels appear as?
When?
Often.
Because there's a lot of different places where they appear as a lot of different things.
What did they appear as when they were in Sodom and Gomorrah?
Well, they appeared as men there.
Human men?
That's what the text says. They appeared as men. Abraham doesn't recognize them as angels.
Right. So do
he
you
doesn't
think
even recognize
because
God?
they could become human men, they could act as human men?
They're not ontologically men, though.
I know, but it kind of becomes a squishy area.
I don't think it does. If we're gonna make
they didn't become robots, dude. They weren't robots. They were men.
I didn't say they were robots.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I'm not saying that angels don't have will.
If they were they became genetically men. The genetic men have sperm. I mean, I don't know what to say. It's like, yeah.
I think it's an inference beyond the point, specifically to adhere to a tradition and believing that these were supernatural beings.
I just don't think the kind of giantism we're talking about just sprouts up out of the blue, because sons of men or sons of God were just more righteous than the daughters of man? It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, you could look at it as a precursor or a parallel to the intermingling when the syncretism started infecting the Israelites. They didn't kill everybody in those nations, and they started taking pagan wives. And then the pagan worships ended up, associating Asherah with Yahweh. You suddenly have a bunch of parallel these things and judges because they weren't killing who they were supposed to kill or not marrying outside. Okay. If I'm cutting out, then it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, you're. Can you hear me? All right. Well, I guess that's a sign. I got it. I'm 10 minutes late. So thanks everybody for being here, buddy. Buddy. All right. Continue in the Discord if you like. I'm going to be busy all weekend. So God bless you guys. See you next time.